Yo, what's up? It's time for Rebreak Radio, episode 18. Today's episode will be all about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. So we will begin with no spoilers in a kind of overarching review, and then we're gonna go into complete spoilers and talk about the entire movie. So my name is Dennis, and I'm joined today by Oscar.
Yes, and today we're eager to talk about what we thought about this movie. There's been like a lot of different opinions, so be prepared to hear all our opinions.
Yeah, so I would say, according to the general internet, it's a very negative, right?
Yeah, for being a Star Wars movie, you mean?
Yeah, but according to Ryan Johnson, the director of the movie, he's apparently heard a lot of positive criticism, a lot of positivity around the movie. So I would say that it's just like the hardcore Star Wars fan base that doesn't like it because it's not quote unquote Star Wars.
Yeah, because you'll hear and later, but I enjoyed the movie. I think you did too.
I really enjoyed the movie too. I think it's actually a very healthy and good direction to take this franchise in. Because making it yet another original trilogy copy is not what I want. Like,
we saw that in the first movie, The Force Awakens. It was very similar to the first Star Wars movie with the Death Star and the X-wings. Yeah,
exactly. Like, and that's I've said a lot, or my kind of quick thing about these two new movies is that I think Force Awakens is a great movie if you take it out of context of the universe. It is a great remake of the first Star Wars movie in every sense of the word. Like, it's so much better in every single way than A New Hope.
I had some critique for that movie, actually, the first one. But I mean, yeah, I would probably, if it wasn't so similar to the first one, it would probably be
yeah, that's
better.
what I'm saying. Like, it's a great remake of the first movie because I think it's better than the first movie in every single way, or at least most. But like, that's the problem too. Like, it's just repeating itself, and that's what I don't like about Force Awakens. And without spoiling The Last Jedi, I think what is so awesome about The Last Jedi is because it's entirely new. It has like elements of other Star Wars movies, like the Battle of Crait. It's been in trailers. Like, it's very similar to the Hoth battle in
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, and there are definitely analogs to other movies, and we're gonna try not to spoil too much. But like, I think the overall plot of the movie is very original, and that's something that I really like about it.
Yeah, so I think if you haven't seen this movie, you should definitely see it. Even if your favorite YouTubers say it's not as good as the first one, The Force Awakens, they are probably wrong. Maybe there's just some kind of bias that famous YouTubers, for some reason, have found this movie not to be like to their liking. Maybe it's just some kind of trait that people that make reviews have. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, let's get into like what we thought more of the movie.
Yes.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit about what did you think about the overall plot of the movie, and this is no spoilers.
Yeah, I think it was decent. I mean, the plot it's like it has everything it needs to have to showcase the characters and like get the message through. That's what I think.
Yeah.
What do you think about the plot?
I thought it was great, and I've heard a lot of people complain on the fact that it's like that the movie's too long. I did not think it was too long. I personally prefer, like, when it comes to movies that I really want to see, I prefer them to be longer, because I think maybe that's because I am very used to video games. Video games are very long, obviously, but I think when you make something that's longer, it allows a good story to breathe. you know?
exactly. And Star Wars is a very big universe with a lot
Yeah.
of characters. If you want to be immersed in the experience of watching this movie, it needs to be longer because otherwise you're like not going to really get into it. That's what I
Yeah.
feel.
And
Think.
it allows you to also kind of just immerse yourself more in the universe when you actually get more time to be in it.
Yeah.
Um, like there are some stories that can only really be told in TV shows or movies because of the just length of the story,
Mm.
like how long the story is. But yeah, like my initial reaction when I was watching Force Awakens, no, not Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, I came out of it and I was like, wow, that was awesome. And then I was like, because the premiere here in Sweden was the 13th of December, and I watched it on premiere.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Of
premiere
course.
in the US was on December 15th. So I
Oh
had to
yes,
wait a
we
couple
got
of
it
days.
first.
Yeah, so I had to wait a couple of days until like the reviews and until the review discussions came out.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was so excited to watch like all the review discussions, like, oh yeah, how awesome is this movie? And then it, like pretty much all of them were like, this movie sucks. And I was like, what?
What the fuck are you talking about? This is the best.
It didn't suck.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's a lot of negativity around this movie, and for most of it, I really don't agree. Like, I just simply
Yeah.
do not agree.
Can I ask you a very personal question?
Sure.
Yeah. What did you think about the first? Well, what did you think of The Force Awakens? Like, we don't have to go into details, but like
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah, I suppose it's a very good way to kind of base our opinions in other movies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had basically the same reaction going out of The Force Awakens. I really liked it, and all that stuff.
Mm.
I think I there was a little bit of disappointment in how similar to A New Hope it was.
Mm.
I think I realized it, or I think I knew it in my head earlier than I realized it myself.
Did you watch
Um,
it like 2 times or?
yeah, I watched it twice in
So
theaters,
maybe
and
the
then I've
second
seen it.
time, you like really, oh fuck, this is similar.
No, it wasn't like until later, but I think I realized immediately the fact that it was so by the numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're
But I
even in like they infiltrate the like headquarters of the bad guys,
yeah,
like they did in the Death Star,
yeah,
and like one, yeah. I'm sorry, go on.
yeah. So like yeah, how to
I was thinking the reason I was asking that question was because when I watched the first movie, my opinion was that it wasn't actually very good. I was disappointed with The Force Awakens, and then the reviews came out, and it felt like everybody thought this was a great movie.
yeah.
So this is not surprising to me that like reviews differ in opinion to what I think of the Last Jedi. Also,
Yeah, and like I would say I'm very similar to that. Like I like both of the movies for very different reasons. Like I like The Last Jedi more as a movie
mm-hmm.
and more as a Star Wars movie, but and I like Force Awakens more as like a nostalgia trip of Star Wars.
Mm.
But at the same time, I don't think it incorporates enough of the prequels, which is an era of Star
Yeah.
Wars that I personally like. Yeah, sure, there are some bad writing and stuff like that in the prequels. The CG isn't too good, but like I generally like the prequels.
IGN did. That's nice.
No,
And
I generally like the
I
prequels.
you did okay.
No one likes the
IGN.
prequels. I think we are like the only ones who actually like the prequels.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I liked I remember I did not enjoy the second movie, like the prequel of the prequels when I watched it the first
Yeah,
time. But overall, I'm very happy with the prequels because
yeah,
I mean, I think they did Star Wars good, and they are not really as simple as the original trilogy. They are more complex and deal with like other issues than just like overthrowing an empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think. I mean, what? Okay, so what was your initial reaction when watching The Last Jedi?
Yeah, I think it was very like I did not get bored watching it. I thought it was fun to watch. I thought it was epic. I think it was very like it wasn't too predictable, so it always kept me like guessing what would happen.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that's something that I really like about storytelling,
yeah, it's
when it
great.
doesn't fall into tropes and it really tries to make you,
Yeah, this
guess
movie
what's
is
gonna happen
alive.
next.
This
Yeah,
movie felt alive, and by the end of it, while I wasn't like, oh my god, I need to see the next movie or know what's going to happen next, I
yeah,
still think I felt very satisfied with
yeah,
the experience.
yeah. Same here. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Really,
Is
anything?
that how you felt too? Watching
Yeah, yeah,
after the movie.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's how I felt. Like watching the movie, like there was just a bunch of twists and turns. Like if you haven't seen the movie and if you haven't been spoiled yet, like it's such a great experience to watch because you really like there. I would say there's really only one moment in the movie that like one major plot twist in the movie that is
Mm.
really foreseeable, but that is only because they tease it earlier in the movie. Like, I would say not a single thing that happens in this movie was predictable before seeing the movie.
No, and this is like one of those movies where you didn't. I haven't seen the trailer, but I can guess that even if you saw the trailer, you're not like ruined. Should we
Yeah.
get into like spoiler territory now? I want to know what moment in the movie we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say only like a few more comments before going into spoilers. I think this movie had a lot of awesome moments. And at the same time, I do think it had some pretty bad moments as well. But I would say that is only like exclusive to singular moments. And I think there are some characters in the movie that are not treated with the respect that they serve.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that in spoilers. But yeah, yeah, let's get into, or well, before we get into spoilers,
Spoilers.
yeah, you think this is our recommended movie, right?
I would recommend this to
Yes.
anyone, even
Yeah,
if you
and I would
haven't
recommend
like
it too.
watched a lot of Star Wars. Just
Yeah,
it's this year's big movie, I think. Like,
yeah. If you haven't watched Star Wars at all, which is why are you listening to this?
yeah, who are you? What are you doing? Who do you even know here? I'm sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, if you haven't watched Star Wars at all, watch The Force Awakens at least before watching this movie. Because this is a sequel to that movie, like definitely, like it picks up like moments after the original movie. So yeah, but yeah, let's get into spoilers. And you have been warned. It's
Woo!
time for the spoilers to begin.
Spoilers is commencing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have this Star Wars wiki link that I brought up?
Oh, uh, sure. I think.
Yeah, basically we're looking at like a synopsis of the movie to help
Hmm.
us remember what happened. Because yeah, as we said, this is a very long movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's. I think before we actually get into like the course of the movie, I think let's get into like our favorite moments.
uh, I yeah sure. I can probably talk about that. I mean, the movie is like it consists of a few story threads. Like example, there is the planet that Luke is on, and
Yeah,
like
that's
the
Octo.
mm, yeah
But
sure you can start because I think you probably uh,
yeah, like before we get into the plot though, I want to talk like about the favorite moments. So like I think one of the most standout moments of the movie is when is it General or Admiral Holdo? I think it's General, right?
probably
Yeah. Anyway, Holdo, when she turns around, when she turns the ship around and hyperspace it into the supremacy,
Yeah, let's start by
that
in the
was
beginning.
that was oh my god, that was so cool.
That's like the last thing that happens in the movie.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
said let's talk about our favorite moments of the movie.
Yeah, that
But
was
yeah,
so cool. That was awesome. I loved it.
yeah,
That was like why they should do that. Like that's such a smart tactical maneuver. Whatever. That's epic.
yeah. Like see, like the when it happened, like you could just see like when she's turning the ship around, it's like, what? Oh my god, she's gonna do it. She's gonna like kamikaze this shit, and then when it happens, like the visual is so stunning. Like the fact that they just remove all the sounds, like it's just like, and then just silence, and you can just see everything just tear apart, and like pieces of the supremacy. The supremacy is Snoke's ship.
Yeah.
Pieces of the supremacy just kind of hit other ships in behind it, and all this stuff like is so cool.
Yeah.
The visual is amazing.
And I
It's
love
one of
that.
the most it's one of the most beautiful scenes in Star Wars.
Yeah,
Period.
they put a lot of time rendering that. And it's also very cool because this is not the typical movie that where they blow up the Death Star and it's just over. Like after she hyperdrives through the ship, you see like Rey and Ben Solo, uh, like trying like escaping, and there's fire everywhere, and Finn is on the ship and fighting this silver woman.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's still you gotta see the consequences. That's what I'm saying.
So yeah, now it's time for you to mention another one of your favorite moments of the movie.
Yeah, I think it was pretty nice when. I mean, I think it was nice when Rey went into this dark place that is similar to what Luke Skywalker went through in Empire Strikes Back,
Yeah.
and she like saw herself with all these. Yeah, I mean, it was supposed to be some kind of illusion or something. She saw a lot of rays.
Yeah, a lot of yeah, that was a very cool visual effect.
Yeah, and it was like they built it up so you were like expecting to see some grand grand thing. You were supposed to be more knowledgeable than before. She was going to learn about her parents, and everything was going to just become clear. And then it just ends with like, yeah, nothing.
Yeah, I didn't learn anything.
I didn't learn anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was cool.
Yeah.
It was so mysterious. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very cool moment actually. So another thing I want to mention is the lightsaber battle between Luke and Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
On Crate. That was
favorite
so
moment
cool.
3. Yeah.
Yeah, like it felt like some super honorable like samurai duel.
Yeah.
Like they were just standing in front of each other, and like how the camera like positioned them on the screen, like they were like positioned in each corner of the screen, right? Like it was so, and just the tension was, you could just feel it. Like you could just
Yeah.
pull your hand out in the air and just feel the tension. Like it was so awesome. And like you can, and when they like go to strike each other, and like Luke Skywalker is just makes all these kind of prequel style moves to avoid Kylo.
Yeah. It was like you realize that Luke Skywalker is like he's better than Kylo at fighting, I think.
Yeah, and something that I didn't notice until listening to other people later is that their lightsabers don't actually strike each other in the battle, because Luke Skywalker is not actually there. And that was something that when I initially watched this, I was like, wow, is this a movie mistake? Why is he using the blue lightsaber?
Yeah.
And I literally in the beginning I was thought like, wow, am I actually watching a major movie mistake right now? But then as things went on, like, wow, it's so weird. Like, how does he not die? Like, he gets
Yeah.
shot like a million times. Like, nothing's happening. Like, what is happening? And then it turns out to be him projecting himself.
I think that was a really good move because it feels like he's really powerful when he does that.
Yeah,
You like get the feeling that he is very good with the force, being
yeah,
able to project himself like light years away.
yeah, yeah. That was a super cool moment, and especially like before that with just the Battle of Crate and it was the everything that happened on that planet, pure awesomeness. Like it was just pure awesomeness. Just like when those AT-AT walkers, and I love the design of the new AT-AT walkers. They look kind of like gorillas.
Yeah, I guess.
Uh,
Yeah,
they have
and the
kind of been called
sand,
gorilla walkers.
the red
Yeah,
sand.
yeah. How the entire planet is like covered in salt, but then there's like red sand beneath it, and
Yeah,
those ships that I still don't understand why
the
why they
ones
bring up the
cruising on
red
the
sand.
sand.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
and how they bring up the red sand behind them. Like wow, it's so like the visuals are so amazing.
yeah, that was really artistically beautiful. And I
Yeah,
mean, even when the Millennium Falcon flies through the planet and the crystals are there, that's
yeah,
pretty cool too.
yeah. All right. So let's. Do you have any more like standout moments you want to mention before we get into the nitty gritty of the movie?
I probably could think of something. No, I'm pretty good. I think. I mean, there is a lot of good moments. Basically, when the coder betrays them, I
Yeah,
think that was well done because he basically likes to give the jewelry back to this Asian woman, Rose.
yeah.
Her name is.
Rose.
I'm
Yeah.
like the Asian woman. Sorry, I'm not trying to be that kind of guy. But so you establish that he's a nice guy, and then 5 seconds later he's not a nice guy. He's a
Yeah.
bad guy. And I feel that was like it was cool.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into the movie itself. So the movie begins with with the space battle where Poe's fleet
Yeah.
is trying to take out this what's it called, the dreadnought.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what's called, but that's enough, I think.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really cool scene.
Yeah,
Um,
I have a lot of people have been complaining on the comedy aspect of it because, and I understand that when the cocky Poe, what's his last name?
Dameron.
Yeah, Poe Dameron. He's like taunting the First Order leader.
Yeah, I love that scene. I thought that was so funny. He was like, "Yeah, I'm looking for General Hugs." Like General Hugs here, but yeah, I can hear you. Was it about? Okay, I'll wait. Looking for General Hugs. Like, can he not hear me? And then like
Yeah,
that other guy is like, I think he's screwing with you. And then he's
I
like,
totally
what?
understand. Yeah,
That was so funny. I
it
love it
was
so
really
much.
funny. It was really funny. I understand if people are upset with the scene because they feel it's out of character or like it's too much comedy, but I still think it was pretty funny and I was okay with it because it really I think it was a good way to like before really immersing the viewer into the movie, it's okay
Yeah.
to have a bit of comedy because I mean it drags people in, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I've heard some people complain that they changed General Hux's character for a single joke. But I don't think that actually was the case. Like if you look at Poe Dameron is like the funny character. He's the one just pulling jokes even in Force Awakens.
Mm.
And I think just the fact that General Hux isn't really expecting that, like he he doesn't really understand that he's joking with him.
Yeah,
And
because
that works for his character because his character is so strictly serious. Like he is basically the Adolf Hitler of this universe.
yeah,
And
he doesn't expect anyone to make fun of him.
yeah, exactly.
He's a
So
dictator.
he
He's a
thinks
dick.
that
Oh, sorry.
yeah, I mean he thinks there are just connectivity issues while he's actually joking.
Yeah, the more you think like about it, it feels more natural.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, that joke happens as Poe Dameron is like trying to stall them and get the bombers as close as possible.
Mm.
And that scene also serves to set up a lot of the plot points in the movies. So first of all, it sets up the fact that Poe is very
He is a rebel, like, and
yeah
he does
doesn't
things spontaneously. I guess he's impulsive.
yeah, he's impulsive and cocky, basically.
Yeah.
And while he is capable of taking down the dreadnought, it ends with basically his entire squad dead.
Yeah. It's basically his fault that they got into this trap.
Yeah.
That made the rebel, like the major part of the rebels, trapped. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they died, but
And it ends up when he comes back, he's like, yes, we took it down. But then Leia comes to him and says like, why the fuck did you do that, basically? And she demotes Poe to captain instead of commander of the fleet. And that has a big impact on what happens later on in the movie, because first of all, Poe feels like he did not deserve to be demoted, because like in his mind he took out the dreadnought.
yeah, he's a hero.
Yeah, but in Leia's mind, he just killed a bunch of his own people, basically, because he was reckless.
Yeah.
And then it also sets up how another new character is introduced into the movie. Rose Tico is her name, and
Yeah.
her sister Paige Tico is the one who dies in the bombing.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, I didn't know that.
What, you didn't know that?
No, I did not know
That was
she
like
had
a
a
major
sister.
plot point in the movie. Paige Tico is the girl who actually
Sorry, I
the
shouldn't be
bomber that
laughing.
survives and actually bombs the dreadnought. Like she's the one who's trying to reach the detonator and all that stuff.
I probably
the
just like
bomber.
closed my eyes and ears for like 1 second and totally missed that. But it's still like, I mean, the purple haired woman is introduced, and at first we're like, who is this?
She's introduced
she's
later in the movie.
Yeah, when he's
Well, so yeah, this battle happens, and then after this battle, like they hyper jump away, and then they realize that the First Order can track them through hyperspace.
yeah, I think because they actually follow them. Snoke's ship follow them, so they have like the biggest ship in the armada behind them.
And well, if you look into Star Wars lore, and a lot of people have talked about this, the fact that prior to this movie, hyperspace tracking has been impossible. That has been kind of a plot point, like, oh, if we use hyperspace, we can actually escape, because tracking through hyperspace is impossible. But then a lot of cool Star Wars fans found that in Rogue One, when Jyn Erso is looking through like all the data that they have on Scarif,
Yeah.
she briefly mentions hyperspace tracking
Hmm.
as
Okay.
a project that the Empire started working on.
Oh, that makes sense. That's actually a good discovery.
Yeah, and actually even the guy who is in charge of Star Wars canon, Pablo Hidalgo, he actually retweeted that and like, yep, that's confirmed true.
Cool.
So yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that happens. They come and they strike them down, or they follow them, and then they begin they begin an attack on the rebel ship. And this is the part where where Kylo Ren comes out in his super cool ship. I think it's called the TIE Silencer. His
Mm.
ship is just so cool,
Yeah,
and
it
like,
looks like a TIE fighter advanced, but it has like
yeah,
a window so you can see Kylo Ren.
all TIE fighters have a window in it. But
Oh
anyway,
yeah, it's transparent.
all right. So, but yeah, he kind of sits there and he is about to attack the ship, and Leia is in it, and he can feel that Leia is in it, and he hesitates, and then he
Mm.
doesn't shoot. But then another one from his squad shoots, and Leia and a few other and like including one
Yeah, famous the famous red octopus man. That is like it's a trap.
yeah. So in this
I
scene,
should know his name.
in this Admiral Akbar.
Yeah.
So in
Oh,
this
fine.
scene, Leia and Admiral Akbar, as well as everyone else who were in the cockpit,
Yeah.
in the control room, they get sucked out into space.
Yeah.
And when I saw that the first time, I was like, "Huh, is this how they deal with Leia's with the fact that Carrie Fisher is dead?
Mm-hmm.
Like they just kill Leia." But then I think this is one of the most stupid points in the entire movie, and this is one of my negatives with the movie.
Okay.
Is
Yeah.
the fact that Leia survives because she can now use the Force, and she just pulls herself and looks like Mary Poppins. She just pulls herself into the ship again, and
I
that
think
was
that was
so dumb.
good. I think that was pretty good. I
No,
think
I
it was
thought,
fun. No, but it's like she's a Skywalker. They're a
yeah, I
family
mean,
known to have the highest force sensitivity in all of the galaxy, basically.
yeah, it makes sense that she uses the Force, but like,
Doesn't
I
she
thought it was
use the
so
force in the end
stupid.
of the third movie also, in the original trilogy? Or something? Isn't there like an indication that she's force sensitive?
Yeah, that's not the problem. Like, she is Force sensitive. Obviously,
Yeah.
she is. She's the daughter of Darth Vader, but like, I thought it was a dumb decision, especially
Yeah.
because Carrie Fisher is now no longer alive. She can't appear in the next movie. So what they should have done is
Oh, yeah.
rewrite the movie and make that her death scene.
But at the same time, though, if she would have died so early, wouldn't that they would have been unable to use like the other like scenes where she's in, and then it would be like kind of yeah. So she died, so we removed her from the movie. That would be kind of
Yeah.
offensive.
Yeah, but like at the same time, how are they gonna deal with her death in episode 9?
The same way
Like,
the death of the Didact in Halo 5, just kill him in a comic book strip. That's great.
no, you can't do that. But like,
Just make a comic, kill her off.
no,
That's an irony, by the way.
because what they have said is that they're not gonna recast her and they're not gonna use a CGI double. So how are they possibly gonna write Leia out of the story when she can't have any screen time in the new movie? It doesn't make any sense at all.
You're right.
And I thought that, and since they basically already had a death scene for her, it was such an easy thing to actually use it as her actual death scene. And I thought it would have been a very impactful scene as well if that was actually her death. It was like Kylo Ren almost killed her,
I'm
but
gonna
he
say
didn't, and then she died anyway. Like, I thought it would have been a good scene.
I think overall, I forgot actually that she had died. So when I watched the movie, I thought it was a good thing that she survived, because I thought it was unexpected, and Kylo Ren had already killed Han Solo, and it just felt like all the old actresses were going to killed off because they didn't want to appear in the movies or whatever. We did actually see Luke Skywalker also being removed from the universe.
Yeah, that happens later on, but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of felt like, oh, they're actually keeping her around. But of course, she's dead. I realized that as it came up in the credits, that, oh, in loving memory of
Carrie Fisher.
So I understand what you mean, but I think I think it was still a good direction to go for the movie.
Yeah. But yeah, and then one of the most, and this is also the part of one of the other things I don't like about the movie, and that is that Admiral Akbar is killed off basically off screen. Yeah. Basically off screen. And that was like, Admiral Akbar is a major character. Like,
I'm
not
gonna
maybe
be
a
honest,
major character,
I didn't
but
really care.
He's a major character of just Star Wars lore and internet history. Like, he is one of the most, he is a meme in itself, and he dies basically off screen. I thought that was so disrespectful of this character.
This is kind of like, you have to give them power to do things like this, because there's so much lore in Star Wars, and if they're going to be afraid to make like changes, then everything is going to be way too predictable. And this is kind of why the movie was unpredictable. It was because they killed people.
That's not the problem. I don't have a problem with him dying. I have a problem with how he died. He needed some screen time. Like, the fact that he didn't get a second of screen time of his death, that is the part that I don't like. He is a significant character in the Star Wars universe, and he didn't get any screen time in his death. And that is not a way you respect you're not a major character, but like a pretty significant character of the Star Wars universe. I don't think it was a good way to do that, and I think he deserved at least a second of screen time.
Yeah, sure. And
that's my
more dialogue. I think they should have added more dialogue before his death. Mostly, because it was like, I wasn't even aware if it was General Akbar or if it just was some random, like, of his species, because
exactly. Like, I didn't even know that he was there or that he died until after the movie, after watching, and I listened to other people.
I'm not even sure if that's like confirmed, because of course someone might have said it, but is it actually confirmed that was General Akbar by the team? Okay.
Yeah, that was Admiral Akbar. So yeah, I thought that was I just think that entire scene is it's basically one of the major missteps,
missed opportunity
in my opinion. But let's see. So yeah, what happens after that is
she goes in a coma, and then we get the purple lady. She's put in charge, and of course, Vice Admiral
Amelin Hall, though, is now in command.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then what happens is that Poe sends Finn and the new character Rose to BB-8
to this casino planet.
Yeah, to the casino planet
to find the master code breaker or something.
Yeah. Okay, so meanwhile, and I think this is very interesting, by the way. This is something I was thinking about yesterday. So, for The Last Jedi picks up right after Force Awakens, right? But if you think about it, like, it only really picks up right after Force Awakens in Rey and Luke's scene on Ahch-To.
Yeah.
Because that scene literally picks up right after Force Awakens, but she actually dies multiple times. Oh no, she doesn't die multiple times. She goes to sleep multiple times on the island, while the scenes with the Resistance, they don't actually go to bed at all.
So you mean that basically maybe the timelines are a bit more complicated than you think? Maybe the things that goes on the
the entire
Skywalker planet is not actually happening at the same time as this space fight.
Yeah, the entire movie isn't necessarily chronologically mapped out.
Yeah.
And that's very interesting. Like they're not actually chronologically synced together until Crate, the Battle of Crate,
Yeah.
or maybe no, probably no. It's more when Rey arrives on the Supremacy. That's when it gets synced back up. But yeah, because she goes to sleep multiple times. Like the scenes on Octo take place over multiple days, while the scenes with the Resistance take place over probably one day, I would say. Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so
Anyway, yeah.
we talked about Poe Dameron, and he gets like critical of this new rule. He thinks that he should control the fleet, I guess.
He thinks that they should be more aggressive. They should fight back rather than escape. And I've heard a lot of people complain about the fact that why doesn't Holdo just tell Poe about the plans? And obviously it's because he was demoted. He did not have the authority to learn about the plans. And I don't know if we talked about this in the discussion or if we talked about it beforehand.
Before you talk about this issue with the plans, you need to explain why it's important that maybe people should know the plan. As what you said before, that maybe if he would have known, he wouldn't have basically made this side mission where he tried to find this master coder guy, which eventually betrayed them, which is an issue. So people could argue that if they should have told him the plan. But then again, maybe there were spies on the ship. They don't know. Like, example, why were they tracked when they went into like hyperdrive and light speed? They don't know how they were able to track them. Maybe they can't be sure that this new technology that we realized from watching Rogue One exists. So, I mean, of course they have to be suspicious.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, Poe Dameron wants to be more aggressive than Holdo. Holdo wants to escape, and he sends him on this mission. But what I've seen most complaints about is the fact that Holdo doesn't tell Poe about the plan. And obviously, like, that could be a thing like, well, why doesn't he just tell about the plan? And as I said, I don't know if we talked about this before the discussion or in the discussion, but if this is like, let's say, this is their plan. Their plan is to make their regular ship like a scapegoat, and then use these unarmored transports to fly to Crate. And that's the plan. And in order for that plan to work, the First Order can't know that they're gonna send out these smaller ships. So that means if there is a single spy in the Rebel Alliance, in the Resistance, that means they're screwed right away. So that means this plan, and you can even see this in the movie. You know, the girl who Poe Dameron works with, who is in the control room. Yeah, she doesn't even know the plan because she works with Poe. If she knew the plan, then she would have told Poe the plan. So not even people in the control room knew the plan. This was such a secretive plan that not even she knew the plan. So I think it makes so much sense that Poe didn't know the plan, because not even people who were in control of the ship itself knew the plan.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Then again, it's really a choice. Of course, there are issues with not telling the plans. Also, it creates some, like, it's not only good because it does create friction, and they actually try to do a mutiny later because of this. So it really does make her a lot less trustworthy, but it does bring out a good point in the end, that, like, sometimes you have to have a little faith in your, like, subordinates too. You can't expect, like, everyone to be evil just because they have, like, power and they don't tell you what they're doing, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, that brings Finn and Rose on this on this side story on the casino planet Canto Bight, and this is probably one of the most controversial scenes of the movie, I would say.
Why?
Right? Because people don't like Canto Bight. People don't like the casino planet.
Yeah, but why do they? Is it? I mean, we talked a little about this before, and it's like because it doesn't serve. People don't think it serves a point.
Yeah.
I don't quite agree. I think it's like it kind of does serve a point.
Yeah, like I think it's actually very important to the Star Wars universe as a whole, because it's actually like it's true. Like, where does all the money come from? Like, who creates these ships, and who sells them, and like all the money has to come from somewhere. All the money has to go to somewhere, and think like all of this war equipment doesn't just show up out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that there is this community, or this like civilization of really rich people, it makes so much sense, and I think it's very important for the Star Wars universe to actually have this part shown. And the scene where Finn finds, where they found out that like um when they're on that ship and they are about to fly back to the Resistance, and the Codebreaker tells him like, oh, let's see who this guy sold ships to. It's like, oh, here's the First Order, oh, the Resistance. And that's when that was a very impactful scene, I think. Like, that was like, oh yeah, like
Yeah.
because I think Finn makes some kind of comment about the fact like, oh, we're the good guys, and like, oh no, there are no good guys. Like,
Yeah, he does say a very like offensive thing before leaving the planet. Before they get into the ship, he says something like similar to, "We didn't find what we're looking for, but at least we destroyed this place. At least we ruined the like we made the lives for these people here a bit harder." And it's like, yeah, are you really the good guy?
yeah, exactly. Like there, and I like the fact that that it is a little bit more morally
Yeah,
ambiguous.
ambiguous.
Yeah. But something that I also heard that people don't like about the Canto Bight scene is that it doesn't feel like this like lived in universe like the rest of Star Wars is. It feels more prequel-ish. And that and to me, I think that's a really dumb comment to make. Like, these are the richest people in the galaxy. Obviously, it's not gonna be all dirty as shit. Like, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I mean the prequels, they are still canon, right? So
Yeah, the prequels.
there's nothing wrong with like with that either. So
Yeah, but people don't like the prequels, and oh fuck.
yeah,
Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, I think most of the Canto Bight scene is scenes are pretty forgettable, but I think they serve a good purpose. But yeah, let's talk about Finn and Rose specifically. So, what did you think about this new character, Rose?
I think she was fine. I mean, it was kind of hinted at in the first movie that maybe Finn and Rey would have some kind of, either they would be friends or they would be more than friends.
Yeah.
When Rose was introduced, it felt more like that maybe Rey and Finn, their story arc might have been like over, and maybe this was the new thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was kind of fine with that.
I don't think so. I think Rose was generally very unnecessary character. I think one of the problems, and it's very very noticeable that Rian Johnson had this problem when going into, because the way this worked is that J.J. Abrams wrote the first movie, and Rian Johnson wrote the second movie, and obviously Rian Johnson had to carry all of the baggage that J.J. Abrams came with, and there's all of these different characters. And in Rian Johnson's way more like concentrated and smaller story, all of these characters didn't fit in. So it makes sense that he killed off a lot of people in this movie. But like, and especially like with Snoke, it was like, oh, this guy, we don't need him. you
Yeah,
know?
especially Snoke. Do you know why they changed directors? And if the last movie is also going to have the same directors as Last Jedi?
Episode 9 has J.J. Abrams directing it, and I'm pretty... I don't know. We can talk about that after we've talked about the movie. But basically, what was I talking about? Oh, right, yeah. So the fact that they added Rose, I think, was completely unnecessary. We did not need to add any characters to this movie. This movie had enough characters as it is. And I even heard that people talking about that the entire Canto Bight sequence was originally supposed to be a scene with Poe and Finn.
Okay.
Rose was a character added like later on. Like it was originally supposed to be Poe and Finn doing all the Canto Bight scenes.
I think that would probably be better.
Yeah, I think.
What the fuck was Poe doing during this time?
Yeah, he was just kind of being a commander, but like, yeah, I think the fact that they added Rose, like, I think Rose did a good job. Isolated from everything else, I think she did a good job as her character. Like the actor wasn't bad. I think she did a great job portraying her character, but I just think the character wasn't needed, and the movie already had too many characters. And like before all of this, that completely unnecessary introduction of Maz Kanata.
Who is Maz Kanata?
Like the female orange Yoda character from Force Awakens.
Oh yeah, she was also in this movie for like 3 seconds.
Yeah, like that scene.
Whatever.
I was like,
that felt so unnecessary.
Yeah, that felt really unnecessary. That's another one of my low points of the movie.
Do you think that is like so they can sell like toys to children with her?
Yeah, definitely. Like
probably.
I asked you to listen to Kind of Funny's spoiler cast of this, and like Greg in it, he mentions like, yeah, why did they include this scene? Oh, it's because like later on they're gonna release like an animated series for a comic or something, and that's gonna be like Maz Kanata's adventures, and then she's gonna have this scene in it and like all this stuff. Like it's just gonna be dumb extended universe shit. So yeah, I thought that scene was really, really unnecessary, and yeah, and actually, like even like it was completely unnecessary because even like Rose talks about how she comes from Canto Bight. Like she was one of those kids who took care of those space horse things. And it would have made perfect sense if she came up with the plan to go to Canto Bight and get the code breaker.
That's true.
That would have made so much more sense.
Guy.
Yeah, and it would have actually made her placement in the story make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the entire inclusion of Maz Kanata was completely unnecessary, especially since she's like a B-list character. She didn't actually have to be in the movie at all. It's not like Yoda is in every Star Wars movie. He's in all of them except 2, 3, Rogue One, Episode 4, and Episode 7.
Yeah. So we talked about Snoke. Do you want to talk about Snoke and his death?
Yeah. Let's talk about Rey and Luke Skywalker before we go into that, because that takes place later in the movie.
Sure.
So yeah. Rey's story picks up right from Force Awakens. That like very cool scene where she hands the lightsaber to Luke Skywalker and the movie ends. Like everyone, and like the Mark Hamill's facial expression is so ambiguous. It's like, what is he actually thinking? Is he thinking like, oh, that's my daughter? Or like, is this like, who is this person? Like, why is she handing me this lightsaber? Or like, is he thinking about the lightsaber specifically? Or like, what is he thinking about? And then it turns out, and then it turns out like in the actual movie, when he picks up the lightsaber, his actual thoughts were like, no, fuck this shit. He throws it behind his back and just goes away. And I thought that was so fucking good. That was so good.
he
I
says
love
something
that.
like, "Yeah, you're fighting against like an armada of star destroyers. What am I gonna do to help? Like,
Swing
I'm a
my
man with a
lightsaber.
sword."
Yeah, and he even calls it a laser sword. I thought it was so good that he didn't even call it a lightsaber.
Yeah, he's really
Yeah.
just mocking the like the Jedi culture that like, or the hero culture basically.
Yeah, like he's just mocking the entire just fan base as a general, and I think
Yeah.
in general, and I thought that was so good. Like, and I saw it was IGN. They did like on their show up at noon. They did like a complete summary of Luke Skywalker's life, and
Mm.
and a lot of people have been saying like, oh, I didn't want this for Luke Skywalker. I always thought like Luke Skywalker as the perfect hero and all that. But
Yeah.
like after I saw this like complete summary of Luke Skywalker's life, I was like, no, this makes perfect sense that Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker would have
Exactly.
given up. Because what actually happens, if you think about it, is that Luke Skywalker's life is all about getting a new father figure that just dies immediately.
Mm-hmm.
That is his entire life. He looks up to people who disappears from his life immediately. Like it starts with obviously his entire life starts with him knowing he is an orphan and his dad is not actually like the people who are raising him are
Yeah.
not actually his parents.
He's
And
adopted.
then yeah, and then they die. Like his adoptive parents die. He
Mm.
gets a new father figure, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Then
Obi-Wan
he
Kenobi
dies.
dies, and then he finds out that the most evil person in the galaxy is his father.
Yeah.
And then he gets like a new father figure in Yoda. Yoda dies, and
Mm.
then Darth Vader turns and becomes a good guy,
And then he
and
dies.
Darth Vader dies. And like
Yeah.
it is this constant string of death and misery and all this stuff. It makes perfect sense why Luke Skywalker would just remove himself entirely from everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like it's about war, right? And how
Yeah.
basically he brought balance to the force by helping kill the Emperor and Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But what people want is Luke Skywalker to continue saving the world and do cool things and become even stronger.
Yeah.
That's kind of not what his mission was. His mission was to overthrow the Empire and bring balance to the Force, I guess. If he would have continued fighting, he would kind of have become something similar to Darth Vader or someone on the dark side. Because, like, he just. He doesn't want to fight just to fight,
Yeah.
kind of. If you
Yeah,
get
exactly.
what I mean.
And then again, and also this is one of the really great scenes, really great parts of the movie, and that's the flashbacks to what happened at Luke's Jedi Academy
Mm-hmm.
when he was about to kill Kylo Ren, because you originally get to see Luke's perspective on this,
Mm.
which is that Kylo Ren became rogue and tried to kill Luke Skywalker. But then you get to see Kylo Ren's perspective on it, and his perspective is that Luke tried to kill him and he
Yeah.
acted in defense. But then you get to see the full story, and that is the fact that Luke Skywalker thought he could prevent the birth of a new Darth Vader, but
Yeah.
he hesitates, and he regrets his choice immediately after bringing out this lightsaber. But Kylo Ren wakes up from the sound of the lightsaber, and he thinks that his mentor is trying to kill him.
Mm. Yeah, I think
And
Luke is very aware of the like how the Force can corrupt you and like his dark thoughts and things that he isn't always in control.
yeah, so I thought that was a really good it was really well done, because obviously you believe Luke Skywalker immediately because you know who Kylo Ren is.
Mm.
He's evil, so obviously it makes sense that he was the one who turned on Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And then when you hear Kylo Ren's perspective, you're like, no, you're lying. But then you
This
hear
is
the full
very
story,
interesting,
and
actually.
then both of them were actually true in a way.
Yeah, so this is another point where the like it isn't as black and white as other earlier movies. It's actually
Yeah,
more like yeah, ambiguous.
yeah, exactly. But yeah,
Also, I
that
think people mix like there is this Anakin Skywalker versus Luke Skywalker. I mean, people have the idea that Luke would be like Anakin, striving for power and just wanting to become like super powerful. But I mean, that's kind of what Luke showed wasn't the point. He could strike down Darth Vader and still control himself
yeah.
and not continue. So that's what he's doing. He's striking down the Empire and then he stops himself.
Yeah, and he even tried to create a new generation of Jedi, but he realizes that that's not actually what you need. You
Mm.
need to like the actual like learnings of the Jedi. The Jedi has to end. Like they have to create something new, and that is the entire like motto of the movie, right? It's like destroy the past, you know. And
Mm.
I think that's such a great way. But like, yeah, I think if you actually think about it, all of the plot twists, all of the differences, the weird changes in the universe are actually brought to the movie by Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren, and it makes perfect sense that everyone else is treating this as yet just another Star Wars movie, right?
Yeah.
But Luke Skywalker is the guy who's like, no, this is not gonna go the way you think. We're not gonna do what you came here for, Rey. Like Rey came there to be the next Luke Skywalker being trained by Yoda, right? But
Mm.
Luke Skywalker's like, no, we're not gonna do this. And we can see in Force Awakens how Kylo Ren is such a conflicted character. So it makes perfect sense that he would be the one to completely 180 and just completely get a new perspective on the world in this movie. And that's exactly what he does when he just like completely changes everything, and he goes to kill Snoke, and he's now the new leader, and he wants to create something new. And Luke Skywalker wants to create something new, and that is what ultimately Rey wants to do because of Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren, is that she also wants to make something new.
Mm.
And that is obviously like after Snoke's death, and we'll talk about it more later. But like uh, when Rey and Kylo fights together, and then afterwards they have this clash. Like Kylo Ren says, "Come with me. We can create something new together." But that is just a simple difference in opinion. Like Kylo Ren wants to create something new, but it's more leaning towards something more of
Yeah,
a
the New Order, I
yeah,
guess. The
he
First
wants to
Order.
create yeah, he wants to basically create a dictatorship where they are the leaders.
Mm.
But Ray wants to create something new that is more I would probably like more democratic, more
Yeah,
open and
more
freedom,
like the
like, you know.
Republic, I guess.
Yeah, it's this very simple thing like where Kylo Ren wants order, where they are the
Mm.
leaders, and and Ray wants freedom where they are the leaders, you know?
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
so simple. It's just and they actually want the same thing, but it's just two different thing. It's two different sides of the same coin, basically.
I
And
think
it's such a
yeah.
great way to actually split those characters back up again.
I think like Kylo Ren and Rey is basically the center of these three new movies.
Yeah,
So, and even if we saw a lot of war and people dying in this movie, this is the important part. This is what's gonna like follow into the final movie. Is
yeah,
like what you said here. It's order versus democracy, basically.
yeah,
Is what we're gonna see in the final movie, and it will be interesting because I really can't tell what the fuck is gonna. I'm sorry for swearing. What is going to
it's fine.
happen?
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like I really don't know what's gonna happen. But yeah, after we can just skip the entire Octo scene. It does a lot doesn't really happen on that. Like basically instead of he Luke kind of becomes this twisted character of Yoda, where instead of uh, Yoda training Luke to become a Jedi Master, it's Luke training Rey into realizing why the Jedi should die. And
Yeah.
it's Luke trying to show Rey his perspective. But yeah, after all this happens, Rey. Oh yeah, this is actually where one of the really great parts of the movie begin, and that is this kind of force connection that Rey and Kylo have between each other.
Yes, of course. This is a story arc.
Yeah, I thought that those scenes were just really cool. The fact that they were talking to each other, and it's really cool the fact that they're both like they are good and bad, really, but like they are two sides, but at the same time they're so relatable to each other. Like they
Yeah.
relate on so many levels, but at the same but and that's the thing, like their foundation is the same, but then it's like
This is
the
something I like about this movie that I
yeah.
hated about the first movie, is that they actually make the character development better. This movie has good character development. In the first movie, Rey is just really a Mary Sue that can do anything. She can fly the Millennium Falcon better than Han Solo, and she defeats Ben Solo without even having practice in swinging a lightsaber. She's just better in every way.
She can use the staff, but I think like
Yeah.
her being trained in fighting, it makes sense. But yeah, continue.
But in this movie, it's actually like you see that they are both good and bad in their own way, and they have like, well, they're just people basically.
They're both conflicted
So,
characters.
yeah. And that's something you don't see in the first movie. It's the first movie was very black and white, and we have talked about it a lot, but this movie really has character development, at least in these two characters,
Yeah.
and like it is not as shallow as the
Yeah,
first
exactly.
one.
Like if you really think about it, it's not the usual like distinction of light versus dark is like objectively good and objectively bad. But in this movie, good and bad is only like uh, s- split up in opinions. Like it's all everyone really wants the same thing, but it's just differing opinions about how to accomplish this, really. And that is
Yeah.
what's so interesting about it.
It feels kind of sad. After you watch the movie, you kind of get this taste in your mouth where it feels sad that really the rebels are they are a lot of them have died during this
Yeah.
fight, and it feels like the fighting just continues endlessly, and there is not really a point, and they have this spark that they speak about that is like, oh, now there is the rebels will come back, we'll ignite a spark and more people will come and fight. And of
Yeah.
course it's a good thing that they rise up against like a dictatorship, but still it's really just throwing people into some kind of war that just keep on going.
Yeah. Um. So yeah. All right. Let's finally get to one of the biggest plot points of the entire movie, and that is the scene on the Supremacy when Rey arrives on the Supremacy and gets taken into the big red room with Snoke and Kylo Ren and the Praetorian Guard.
How do you remember all these names? I'm really
I've
impressed.
been looking at a lot of Star Wars stuff. I didn't know
Yeah.
the names when watching the movie. I knew it afterwards. But anyway, so Snoke is obviously like this mysterious character in the first movie, and you don't even know how big he is, like because the projection of him in the first movie is massive, you know.
Yeah.
So you can like, in some ways, kind of believe like, oh, this is a giant in many ways, right? But like, yeah, he's more regular sized, right? But yeah, like Snoke's character was very interesting, I think, in this movie specifically, where he is so powerful, and it is real like how when you're sitting there watching the movie, like how are they possibly gonna get out of this? Like it is complete. Like how is this gonna happen? There's no way without like completely breaking the logic of the story that they're actually gonna get out of this. But they actually do it. And this is the part where I said like this was kind of telegraphed earlier in the movie, because Rey starts actually being able to sympathize with Kylo Ren. And I think that is what starts Kylo Ren realizing that, oh, I don't have to be the lackey. I can be the leader.
Yeah.
And then he, like, Rey's lightsaber is, like, laying there on his armrest. And Snoke is so drunk of power, right? That he starts looking
anything.
at Kylo Ren's thoughts, his intent. What is he trying to do? But what he is not capable of seeing is the fact that his intent is not towards Rey. It's towards Snoke.
Yeah. And this is something we've seen a lot with the Sith culture. Basically, it's pretty normal to overthrow your master. It's basically something you should do, and if you don't do it, you're basically a failure, and your master will eventually just dispose of you.
Yeah, that actually happens in the prequels, right?
Yeah.
Like one of Darth Sidious's what's it called? One of his Padawans, one of his what is the name of
which movie is this?
Episode 3 and 2.
Yeah.
But like what is the name of
Apprentice,
yeah. Right. So one of his apprentices is Count Dooku.
Yeah.
And Count Dooku is this like super old Jedi who becomes a Sith. And when Darth Sidious realizes as, oh, Anakin Skywalker is even stronger than this guy, he makes Anakin kill him. And that is what's going to happen in every case of a Sith and an apprentice. And is that like
Anakin.
Yeah, it's gonna end with one of them killing the other, and that's basically the relationship between every other, and then later on, like Darth Vader kills the Emperor, and it always happens. And it's
really a dictator culture where you always strive to become the number one.
Yeah, exactly. And it even happens in episode 3 when Darth Sidious tells Anakin about the story of and it's in the opera scene. Like that's one of the best scenes in Star Wars history, I think, when he talks about how Darth Sidious was the most powerful
Plagueis, I think it is.
Darth Plagueis was the most powerful person in the universe, and how his apprentice killed him, and that was Darth Sidious. So, it is a story that keeps repeating itself, and it repeated itself here, but it was obviously very different and a lot more interesting, I think, because everyone thought that Snoke was going to die in episode 9, right? But he actually dies in episode 8.
He was so powerful. I mean, he was probably more powerful, or at least as powerful as Sidious, I would say.
Yeah, he was probably more powerful. Like, one of the funniest moments is when Rey pulls the lightsaber to her, or tries to, and Snoke just turns it around and just hits her in the head with it. It was so funny.
Amazing.
That was so funny.
But I think you realized his weakness. You said
he was drunk with power. He was drunk with power, and
I think Sidious was actually a bit smarter. He was a bit more modest, I think.
Yeah.
He watched his back better.
Yeah, Snoke was just so powerful that he didn't even see that his apprentice was trying to kill him. But yeah, I've heard a lot of complaints about like, oh, we don't know who Snoke is, and like, and I think that's the dumbest argument. Yeah, it does. And also, if you really think about it, how do we know who the Emperor is? It's because of the prequels.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't. The original trilogy barely told you anything about the Emperor. And we didn't actually know we didn't actually know who the Emperor was until the prequels. And
he doesn't appear. He appears like in the first movie, or maybe in the second movie.
He appears as a projection. He appears as a projection in Empire, and then he appears as a physical character in Jedi, and that's exactly the same. What happens here? Snoke appears as as a projection in Force Awakens, appears physical character in The Last Jedi. So
Yeah.
it's actually a perfect analog to the Emperor. But yeah, and then obviously like one of the coolest scenes happens, and that is where Rey and Kylo Ren fights against the Praetorian Guard.
Yeah.
And
they had cool weapons, if I remember
they had
correctly.
super cool weapons.
Laser whips.
Yeah, it was
some weird shit.
Yeah, that was a really cool fight. And then one of the super cool scenes is when Rey is kind of stuck in a place there, and then does she like pick up Kylo's lightsaber, or is Kylo throwing the lightsaber to her? I don't remember which way it was, but like
I think he probably throw it to her.
Yeah, either way, Rey picks up Kylo Ren's lightsaber and uses it, and that was super cool.
Yeah, that's insane. That lightsaber is really intense. The sound that it makes is just like, I don't even remember, but it's like, it really feels like it's gonna explode any minute.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like if you had just like 10 wasps inside of an amplifier.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It sounds so violent and volatile.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. It's such a cool lightsaber. But yeah, so yeah, that entire scene happens, the fight happens. It's, as we said, one of the coolest fights in Star Wars history, I would say. And then
Definitely.
obviously what we talked about earlier with instead of Kylo Ren suddenly becoming a good character, it's like, no, we had the same goal in this instance, but now we're not friends anymore. And unless you have my goals in this situation, like, we're not gonna fight anymore. And what happens is that they pull the lightsaber apart.
Yeah, exactly. It explodes, right? Which lightsaber is it? Is it the Kylo Ren's?
It's Anakin's lightsaber.
Okay, but that's symbolic. That's good, I guess.
Yeah, and what I think is gonna happen. We can talk about it later. Anyway, so let's move on to what happens afterwards, and that is that. Or actually, is it before that? I don't know what happens.
What are you? What are you thinking about?
Holdo's kamikaze moment. I think that happens like right after.
Doesn't it happen before? Because is the ship burning when they're fighting?
Yeah, I think it's burning because the lightsabers hit the curtains.
Oh yeah, that's probably true. Oh, then it's after.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that happens. The kamikaze moments happens. All this stuff, and then we get to the moment in the Supremacy where Finn fights. Or no, what actually happens first is that they obviously get Finn and Rose gets betrayed by the Codebreaker.
Yeah.
Because the Empire paid him more.
Yeah, which was kind of like, I mean, they could have predicted that.
Yeah, and that's I think it sends a good message too. Like, if I don't think they would have wanted to send the message like, oh, trust a stranger, they're gonna help you. Like, no, it sends a good message too. Like, don't trust a complete stranger. Like,
no. He already gave away
message.
Like indications that he was a person that worked for the highest bidder.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, he basically told them, "I'm going to betray you," and then he's like, "Oh, I betrayed you," and they were like, "Oh no, you betrayed us, you asshole." Yeah, I told you I worked for the highest bidder.
Yeah, exactly. It makes perfect sense that he was gonna betray them. But yeah, and then obviously, what's her name? Phasma comes around. And
oh yeah, that's the silver stormtrooper in silver.
Yeah.
Where?
So I found out something pretty interesting. Her armor is actually made out of that very chromey ship from the prequels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like a lore thing, but it's more like props for the movie. We made us from the props.
It's actually lore. Like, um,
Okay.
because that I believe that ship becomes the Emperor's ship sometime, and what happens is that she like wants to be so close to the Emperor that she makes her armor out of his ship.
Okay.
Something like that. Anyway,
she has some
useless
issues.
Point. Yeah. So yeah, and that was a super cool scene. I think the battle between Finn and Phasma.
Yeah. With the ship exploding and burning, it really does. I think I said this before when we talked, but it's like it really does show the consequences of the fighting. That they didn't just end the movie with the Death Star blowing up or the the ship blowing up. Supremacy. They actually continued the fight, and you got to see shit burning. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and let's see. Yeah, I thought it was super cool that she has like this very thin chrome spear.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
that was super cool. And like Finn picks up this this kind of lightning thing that the traitor guy is using in Force Awakens.
Mm.
You know, the guy who yells like "traitor."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of Force Awakens. And then obviously Kylo Ren says it again. It's like "traitor."
I mean, this movie is basically a lot of action.
Yeah, it's a lot of action, but it's also a lot of
Star Wars.
Yeah, it's also a lot of like more silence and reflection as well. Like it is a very long movie, and that actually brings in the fact that it isn't constant action all the time, but it has a lot of really cool action moments.
Yeah, I mean, The Force Awakens, I think, was probably only action. It was more action than this movie, I think, but I think this was a good balance.
That's why I'm a little bit afraid of the fact that J.J. Abrams is the one directing Episode 9.
Why would they do that? Why would they change directors every movie? That's not gonna work.
I don't know. Oh well. Anyway, so yeah, let's finish up. We're almost done with the course of the movie here. But yeah, that battle happens, and then BB-8 starts controlling an ATST for some reason.
Yeah.
That was so awesome. I loved it. It was like, what the fuck?
At the moment, I was like, that's one smart AI or something. I was like, that robot is advanced.
I love that. It was so funny. A lot of people have been complaining about the fact that BB-8 is becoming like, he's
the Pikachu of Star Wars.
He's becoming like R2-D2 in the prequels, where R2-D2 could like there's like one point in Episode 3 where R2-D2 like sets flame to a bunch of droids. And R2-D2 can suddenly fly and all this stuff. I love that, by the way.
Oh yeah, he like spits oil at him, I think, and then he ignites it. That's one dangerous robot. Yeah.
But yeah, so that happens. They escape the supremacy. And once again, Rose has basically no implication on the story.
Yeah, she dies. She kisses Finn and then she dies.
That happens later on, though.
Okay.
But yeah, okay. So now we finally get to
Jesus, this is a long movie.
Now we finally get to what's it called? The Battle of Crate.
Battle of Crate.
We talked a lot about the Battle of Crate in the beginning of the movie, but okay. So one of the biggest things I've heard about Battle of Crate is the battle with the walkers and all that stuff. So one of the biggest criticisms I've heard about the scene is that Finn should have committed suicide. and destroyed the Ram.
That's an awful thing to say by fans.
Yeah,
I understand it, but it's awful.
yeah.
Do you think he
like,
should have committed suicide?
No, I don't. I think they set it up in a weird way to begin with. Like, I think the fact that Rose comes to save him, and then like, I think that what she says actually makes a lot of sense. Like, we have to fight for the one we shouldn't fight for the ones we hate. We should fight for the ones we love. Like, that is a very good thing to say. But then she kisses Finn, and I'm like, no, 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 because I personally didn't see like a lot of chemistry between Finn and Rose. I found a lot more chemistry between Finn and Rey.
Yeah, that kiss though, that was really unrequited also.
But
she kissed him. He didn't even kiss her back, even though she was like dying.
And I think they could actually play with that in episode 9. They could make it into maybe like a love triangle in a way. But don't focus on it too much. But like maybe it becomes like a choice where Finn has to pick which one he likes the most. But yeah, that could be an interesting plot.
Do you want to
point.
pick the Jedi, or do you want to pick this? Yeah,
mechanic.
I don't know. Yeah, the mechanic. Oh, that sounds awful. But like saying that from me saying that is awful. I'm like, do you want to pick the Jedi? Do you want the mechanic? And I'm like, whoa.
But then I also just think they should do Finn and Rey because they have such a great they just have such great chemistry off screen as well. Apparently they both call each other Peanut. It's like they have nicknames for each other. It's like they're a couple, but they're not. So it's just funny. Like I watched yesterday I watched like a lot of videos of like Daisy Ridley and John Boyega just doing shit in interviews. They're just funny.
Yeah, it sounds like they have good chemistry, so it would work out. But then again, I mean, I kind of don't think they will go the romantic route for any of the characters.
Possible, yeah.
I just don't feel it.
But yeah, so that's basically it. What happens next is just, the entire battle. We talked about it before. It's awesome. It's one of the coolest battles in Star Wars. Then they escape in the Millennium Falcon, and the movie's over.
Yeah.
Actually, what happens at the end is that kind of not post-credit scene, which was probably a post-credit scene, but Disney was like, no, it can't be a post-credit scene. That's Marvel's thing. But like, yeah, basically those kids that were on Canto Bight, one of the kids like pulls up the broom with the Force.
Oh yeah.
And that's the end of the movie.
Oh wait, he uses the Force?
Yeah. Apparently, I didn't notice it myself.
No,
I have only heard it afterwards. But yeah, apparently he uses the Force.
Yeah, but it was like there are rebels all over the galaxies that will take up the fight in 10 years or so when they are 18.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like 10 now. Wait a bit, they'll come around.
So we've already gone really long, but so now we've actually done with the movie. Let's talk about Episode 9 and just the overall of this new Star Wars universe. So,
yeah.
What do you think is gonna happen in Episode 9?
I have no clue. I think that Rey and Ben Solo is gonna fight, but that's pretty much all I know.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone is dead. Luke Skywalker, he's gone. Leia is still around, but she's not gonna appear because her actress is dead.
Yeah.
So there's like all the leaders that had like a motive to do anything are basically gone. It's just Rey that's the main character, and Ben Solo and Finn.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think something that I hope happens in Episode 9 is that, because now Anakin's lightsaber has obviously been split in half, and Rey has the pieces. So now she should make a double-sided lightsaber with her staff.
Oh, okay.
Wouldn't that be fucking awesome?
Yeah, sure. It would be nice.
Yeah, and it would make sense too. Like,
Thing.
she has the staff from the beginning, so it makes sense that she would have a double-sided lightsaber.
Yeah, but that's not really like. How do you think the story will go? What do you think they will have? Will they have a final fight?
I don't know.
Probably.
I don't think there's even like any point in speculating, because it's gonna not be what we think anyway. But yeah, like what's gonna happen is Kylo Ren is now the leader, and in some way Rey is gonna fight Kylo Ren, and either Rey is gonna kill Kylo Ren or Kylo Ren is gonna become good.
Yeah. Okay, if they actually make another Death Star, I'm gonna hate them very much.
That is my biggest problem, because J.J.
Yeah.
Abrams is directing this movie.
If J.J. Abrams makes another Death Star, he's an idiot.
Yeah, like, because J.J. Abrams is the guy who made A New Hope remastered, which is Force Awakens. So I'm just afraid that he's gonna make Return of the Jedi remastered.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of my fear too, that they will have Ben Solo and Rey fighting and a Death Star.
Yeah. Like, oh, we made another Star Killer pace. Like, no, fuck that shit. Don't do it. Like, don't. J.J. Abrams, don't do it. Don't fucking
If you're watching
do it.
this, don't do it.
One of the things that's kind of bringing me hope to this movie, though, is that when it was announced that J.J. Abrams is the one to close out this trilogy, he said that I've learned a lot since making The Force Awakens. And I think that statement alone is like, to every, like, he's basically saying to all the fans out there who didn't like The Force Awakens was too similar to A New Hope. Like, he's basically saying, like, this new movie is not going to be similar. Like, it's going to be something new. And I really hope he does make something new. And I also hope he doesn't take the criticism of a lot of people who hate on The Last Jedi and say it's too different and make something too similar again. Like, I
think the point of making movies and games, which we have been kind of talking about with Halo also, is don't listen to your audience.
Yeah, I mean, you should obviously listen to your audience, but you should not. I don't remember who said this, but you should listen to the criticisms, not the solutions.
Yeah, that's a good. I think that's good.
I don't remember who said it, but yeah, that was basically a great way to say this. But yeah,
you should fight for the ones you love.
Yeah,
not for the ones you hate.
Did you read the article that I linked to you? The Last Jedi doesn't care about what you think about Star Wars.
Maybe. I probably did not.
Okay, but so he talks a lot about why Force Awakens is a good movie. No, I mean why Last Jedi is a good movie. And he says this, and this is one of the best statements that he does in this article. So he said it's an article on Slash Film. It's by Jacob Hall. It's called "The Last Jedi Doesn't Care What You Think About Star Wars," and it says here on the second page. When George Lucas conceived Star Wars, it was as fresh and radical as anything else made in the American New Wave of the 70s. But by the return of the Jedi, the ragtag Rebel Alliance felt safer and the Force more of a superpower than a mystical way of life. An already simple premise was made simpler, an undesirable turn after The Empire Strikes Back doubles down on Lucas' original concepts. It's telling that Force Awakens feels like a cinematic adaptation of our nostalgic feelings about Star Wars instead of a Star Wars movie as conceived by George Lucas. I think that's such a good statement. He basically says that here it's like it's telling that The Force Awakens feels like cinematic adaptations of our nostalgic feelings about Star Wars. So that is, and that is a perfect explanation of what Force Awakens is. It's a nostalgic adaptation. It's a cinematic adaptation of our nostalgic feelings about Star Wars.
It's not a Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
in itself.
And The Last Jedi is a Star Wars movie as conceived by George Lucas. Like, you could imagine that the Last Jedi was conceived by George Lucas, because it's actually trying to say something. It's about the politics of the universe, which is something that George Lucas really cares about. He cares about the politics in the universe. He cares about what makes things work. And obviously, like, you could argue that he doubled down a bit too much on the politics in the prequels.
But that just shows that he actually did care about it.
Yeah, and that actually, like, it matters when you talk about war. Politics is a part of war. Like,
Yeah,
you can't really avoid that, and the
Dude,
fact
I
that they
think-
try to avoid that in Force Awakens is kind of what makes it not as impactful and not as good of a movie.
yeah, it felt really bland. It felt like a cut. It felt like it was just taking a case of like good versus evil. No, don't have any difficult, controversial like ideas. Just make a movie about that. But it really, when we talk about what George Lucas did with the Star Wars movies, I think they actually became more and more controversial with each one. As we look at maybe the third movie where they were fighting, and it's like you can still fight for what you think is right without turning to the dark side. And
Are you
everything
talking
like that.
about the originals or the prequels?
Oh, of course, yeah, the original right
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
But then after that came the prequels,
Yeah.
and it's a lot about how the Jedi Council lets Anakin down. Basically, they don't want to let him into the circles and everything like that, and yeah, and how they kind of they say they are the good guys and they try to, but kind of, yeah, it just sucks basically. So more and more controversial thoughts was put into the movies as they went on. Basically, when George Lucas made the movie. So I think it's important to have things like everything is not black or white in Star Wars, especially
exactly.
now.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it with the speculation for episode 9. I don't think we can really speculate anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to, before we finish this episode up, there's one thing I want to mention about just the overall of the Star Wars universe and how I think both of these movies are not doing well to the overall of Star Wars canon. And that is, if you look at the overall of Star Wars canon, you have the prequel era and just the Republic era in general that just goes on for centuries, right? And it is this utopian universe of where everything's perfect, right? It's
supposed to be, but I don't think it actually is perfect.
Yeah, like it's this utopian world where everything's supposed to be perfect and everything looks like it's perfect from the outside and all this stuff. But then obviously, because it just keeps going and like the Senate and the Republic becomes destroyed from the inside, right?
By Sidious.
Yeah, Sidious destroys it from the inside and makes it into the Galactic Empire. And that's what starts the original trilogy. and obviously that goes on, and that is this kind of down point in the universe. And then the original trilogy stops with the rise of the New Republic. And that's where they start New Republic, and then 30 years happen until the new trilogy of movies. And now you're in this new world where this New Republic is starting to is in control and all this stuff. And then the First Order comes around and destroys the New Republic.
I think that was a big mistake.
Yeah, that was that's the biggest mistake.
So quickly. They killed made a war so quickly again.
Yeah, really. And they take it from, they have this unique feel in the prequels where you're in this very utopian world. You have a unique feel of the original trilogy where you are in this very lived in and like trod down world. And then you have the potential to make this new feeling in the new trilogy where you have this New Republic that isn't utopian. Like you have this New Republic where you still have people who like the Empire, you still have people who like the New Republic, and you have this more realistic world, really. a world that more represents our world, because we have not like gone into a utopian state really, like there's still
Mm.
conflict and just the general like state of the world, right? Because everyone has differing opinions. Um,
Mm.
and I think that would have been a way more interesting world to explore. Instead, what they do is basically like in the first hour of the movie, it's like boom, yep, it's the original trilogy again.
Yeah.
Like, and if you think about it, like at the end of this trilogy, the universe has actually not really gone anywhere. Like, this not
No,
actually made any progress.
because it has to end with the war ending. That's what's
You'd
gonna
assume that,
happen. The
right?
war is gonna end, and some kind of new.
New republic is gonna start, right?
Yeah, and like, okay, so then we're back to square, like, I
Square
don't
one
know,
again. Like,
C
yeah,
or B. Yeah.
we're back to where the original trilogy ended, and like, what's the point
Yeah,
of that? I
it's
don't see the point, and that's the thing too. Like, I think if Ryan Johnson had actually started out this trilogy, I
mm,
think we would have actually seen that from the beginning. But since Ryan Johnson had to play with the cards he was dealt
mm,
after Force Awakens, he just kind of had to keep going and keep this train going of a losing resistance.
yeah, exactly. I think kind of that. What's the first director's name?
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams. He really went the wrong direction with the first movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
And actually, like,
yeah.
the only thing that could have been removed from The Force Awakens was the fact that the Starkiller base destroyed the New Republic planets. If
Yeah.
only that detail would have been removed, everything would have been fine. Or
It's ridiculous that they were even able to do that. I
even
mean,
like they could have
is everyone an
destroyed
idiot?
they could have destroyed one of the planets.
Yeah.
And that would have been a huge impact, but still the New Republic would have still survived. They would have still remained, right?
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, okay, so they put all their eggs in one basket and they didn't realize somebody was building a weapon, even though they should have with the technology they have, and they fired one laser beam and it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
think
just stupid.
it's really stupid, and yeah, I think that is my biggest problem with this new trilogy, is that just retreading steps. And even though like the smaller stories are different in the Last Jedi, the overarching plot, the overarching state of the universe is just repeating itself, and
Yeah.
I really, really, really hope that they do something different about it. And we don't know where because Ryan Johnson is getting his own trilogy, which is good. It's really good.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's outside of the Skywalker saga. We don't know where it's gonna be set. We don't know if it's gonna be set in prequel era, original
Mm.
trilogy era, or the new era. I kind of hope it's a story that's set after Episode 9,
Yeah.
and they
Why
actually
not?
continue the universe. But yeah, overall, I just think that and that's the thing. Like, The Force Awakens is a good movie if it's separated from the Star Wars universe. The Last Jedi is a good movie if it's separated from the Star Wars universe.
Mm.
But when you put them in the canon, it just destroys everything, I think. And
Yeah.
the Last Jedi would have been a great movie if it didn't have to deal with Force Awakens.
Yeah, exactly. I think really that the next movie is probably gonna be good, but I think when they make a new movie that is like not connected to the Skywalkers and everything like that, they will be able to do something more interesting, and they won't be bound down by having to like kill off Han Solo and kill off Leia and kill off Luke Skywalker just because the the actors don't really want to play a big part in these new movies. I mean, they really have to start something new, and that's probably why this next trilogy is gonna be the thing that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I hope, at least. We can never tell for sure. maybe it's gonna be lame. But I hope it's gonna be great.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Do you have any final thoughts about the movie?
Yeah, use the Force, Luke. No, I'm sorry. It was a good movie. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun movie. I think it was. Yeah, and as we said here at the end, I think it would have been way better if it didn't have to deal with The Force Awakens.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that's basically what we think.
Yeah. It is this kind of inconsistency where The Last Jedi would have fitted better into the universe if it was an Empire clone, and The Force Awakens would have fitted better into the universe if it was something original like The Last Jedi is. So yeah, they're both this kind of... They're not two sides of the same coin. They are two completely different coins and you have someone who's trying to fit them together.
Yeah. That's why this next movie is gonna be... It's gonna be fun to see what they come up with to like fix this.
Yeah.
Fix this trilogy, because right now it's just... I don't quite see the point of it. Yeah,
yeah, it's inconsistent. That's the main part. But yeah,
it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And yeah, one of the most interesting things will be like, what are they gonna do with Carrie Fisher and Leia? All that stuff. But yeah,
do it in a comic. Don't do it in a comic.
Yeah, don't do it in a comic. And yeah, but yeah, that is it. Thanks for listening. If you like this, like the video
and subscribe.
Yeah,
to the channel.
Subscribe to the channel. We're working on a new video series. It will hopefully be launching on the 1st of January. And it's going to be cool. I hope you're going to like it. And we're going to try to do them weekly, but I don't think we're going to be able to do it in the beginning. But yeah. Our goal is to go weekly. Anyway, and hopefully as things go on, maybe we can start to solidify the frequency of videos of the channel.
As we get better making them. Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, like the video, subscribe to the channel. A lot is coming. And
see you next time, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.